I have some exciting news before we jump into today's podcast. With fall right around the corner, I know it's not exciting, but with Labor Day coming, I find after then, everyone's getting back into gear, back to normal work schedules, back into school schedules, whatever it may be, and most importantly, back into the gym. Maybe summer was great for you and you're super on track, and I absolutely hope that for you, but chances are it wasn't, and maybe you're at a place where you're like, I need to recenter myself, I want to lose some fat, gain some muscle, and really build some long-term sustainable habits. And if this is you, we have a challenge going on starting the day after Labor Day. So this is your chance to get locked in with some accountability, be eligible for $1,000 in prizes for the best transformation, and see some long-term lasting change, working one-on-one with myself and Kyle to lose more fat and build more muscle. If you're looking for more information and you're looking to become the best version of yourself, click the first link in the episode below or DM us on Instagram, the keyword challenge at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. We can't wait to shred alongside you. Now into the episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And this is Motivation Monday, where we are here to get you fired up, spread some knowledge, share some quotes, and let you in on our thoughts. And we like to start this episode with our primary question. And our primary question for this week is, what is your morning routine, and what tips do you have to make a successful morning routine? We love this question. We feed off this question because a morning routine isn't something that just stays static. It doesn't change. It's something that's always moving and adjusting. And we really love just trying to say, how can I make this better? How can I be more efficient? How can I make the most of it? And we've continued to evolve that over all the years. We've really just worked on self-development, fitness, and health, and really excited to jump into this. And I know Kyle has a lot of great points, so I'm going to let him take this one away first.
Yeah, so the way I look at a morning routine is it's kind of like putting your armor on for the day. You're protecting yourself, you're getting situated, you're getting your outfit on that's just going to be able to block everything out and set you up for success. And when I heard that like years ago, I thought that was such a great point, because I'll never forget the days where I used to be a personal trainer and I would basically set my alarm and then I would give myself like 5 to 15 minutes to just like get ready, rush out of the house, and then start instantly helping people. And I found that that was so hard because I wasn't able to help myself before I was able to help others. So I was just busy. I was running all over the place. I was overwhelmed. I was stressed. Like I didn't really have a good breakfast. I didn't really just set myself up for success with that. So from those moments, I just, having a little more flexibility with our work schedule, like it allowed me to just develop the most optimal routine to help me be able to jump into the workday, to be able to help others, to be able to just think clearly and just be in a great spot. So for me personally, this is tried and true. Like I just really do start with a morning walk. Anytime I don't want to get out there, I just force myself. Now it depends on the time that I get up, and the time that my girlfriend will be ready to go for a walk. So sometimes I will do my first stuff, which is going to be my meditation, sending my report to Josh from the day before, and then just kind of going through a couple outstanding tasks that I want to get into. If I get up early around 5:45, 6ish, I'll do that, and then I'll go into the walk. But if I'm up, a little bit after around 6:30, I'll go for the walk as well. So for me, it's just very simple. It's just going for that walk, spending time just thinking, preparing my thoughts for the day. I do make sure to get some meditation in for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then I will say the thing that's been the biggest changer for me, and I know Josh is big on it as well, is trying to jump into the most important, daunting task. It's so easy to jump and check emails and, just respond to some messages and just do very like busy work, maybe tidy up the house and whatnot. But I find that when you jump into, after a little bit of meditation, a little bit of kind of self-care stuff, and then you jump into that thing where it's like, I need to get this ebook designed, I need to spend time writing this next book, or like do some intense, scary things that you're probably not going to do at 8 p.m. or like at 1 p.m. even. I find that that's been a very lucrative part to just like getting important stuff done after you've done like a couple things for yourself. So yeah, it's just, I'm still playing around with it. I'm still situated and, learning different things. And I'm sure within a couple months it'll also change. But for me, it's just about doing things that leave me feeling good, but also not too many things where it's like 3 hours goes by and I'm like, oh, I've done a lot of things, but not really done a lot of things, if that makes sense. So I'm still playing around with it, but that's mainly what I have for now.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into a morning routine. I think that's where it's so fun and it can be so individualistic. It will be entirely different from person to person, and you have to work with what's available for you. Obviously, I've needed to adjust quite a lot with having children. That's taken away some of my control in the morning, but there still are a lot of things I can control, and I kind of work off of that. And as Kyle said, I think balancing a morning routine, there's so many different criteria, but I think my biggest goal is like, what can I actively do daily that when done often and done through compounding it is going to see incredible long-term results. An example of that is setting an alarm the night before, having a consistent wake up time. And I aim to wake up before it, but my body's ultimately the boss of that, or my son, whichever happens first. So I aim for that, but I always do set that alarm. I'm always consistent to it. I really try to be consistent with bedtime and wake up times. Can't always control bedtime, but I do keep my wake up time quite static. I find I feel more rested, and just having that routine and consistency is so imperative. And that starts oftentimes the night before. If you want a great morning, you got to get a great sleep. So I find this one is often overlooked. I love the tip too of, if you're always hitting snooze, turning the snooze option off on your phone entirely. Yes, you can do that. Or putting your phone in a different room, putting it far away where you need to get up and move. And someone said they never understood that, because you could get up and turn it off, I think on our YouTube, and then go back to bed. But to that argument, generally when you're up and you're out of bed, you're like, okay, I'm out of here. I may as well get started. So get started at a good time, have a plan, be intentional. From there, some of the best things I think you can do are weigh in. I like to weigh in every single morning. I'll go to the bathroom and then I'll weigh in, because this is a really consistent measurement of what I'm actually at. And I'll weigh in as minimal clothes as possible after going to the bathroom, so that number is consistent. And then day to day, I can see how my weight is trending and whether it's trending in the direction I want or need it to. And that reflection can allow me to really get a good understanding of where I'm at and whether I'm moving towards where I want to be in my goals. So this is a big one, and doing this consistently, it's one of those things where if you just add it in, you will become leaner, you will maintain a lower body weight, because you have that consistent habit. From there, I find any day I make my bed is just such a better day. Just the mental clarity, you know that's done. Later at night, you're not trying to jump right into your bed and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I got to make it. It's that extra step. I like to put on my right clothes if I can. And then from there, always will go into just drinking water immediately, getting some hydration. You're spending all night thinking, sleeping, regenerating, and you're not getting water in your system. So to have a glass of water first thing is so imperative and so powerful. Then obviously I like to really just focus on self-care from here, like Kyle said, before you're getting to everyone else. And like one of the worst things you can do is checking your phone, checking your email, just being like ready to the outside world before you've even warmed up and gotten ready for the day. So do the things you need to do to take care of yourself. And I find this a great time for reflection. This is a great time for activity or health, whether it be a walk, whether it be journaling, whether it be gratitude, whether it be reflection on your goals. And then from there, you can create a plan as into what you want to do in your day and start to get an understanding of how things are looking. Perhaps look at the calendar, but I still haven't looked at my text or email at this point. From here, I really like to challenge myself. I'll get my coffee and I'll do the hardest thing. I call it eating the frog. I'll do like that big thing I need to do in the day. So if you have an essay you need to take care of, if there's some big email you need to get back to, like whatever your big project is that you need to do, or you're building a website. For instance, we obviously got to build one for this challenge. That's an example of a frog I would do in the morning, or maybe a bunch of really intense programming that I do for my clients because we do custom routines. These are all great examples of frogs. And this is where this is my magic time in the morning. And I think if you are a morning person, it's good to have this reflection. So instead of just wasting it doing checklist tasks and doing really simple little dinky things, this is a really great opportunity to dive into that. And then from here, the morning's up to you. I like to eat a healthy breakfast, and then it's pretty much game time. And that's more or less what I found has been successful for me. Everyone's so different. Now, usually like the first 30 minutes of my morning is like built around making my son breakfast, getting him ready, doing all these different things with him. And like, you just need to work and adjust. And I obviously didn't have to do that 2 years ago, but now I did. So you just need to roll with whatever changes happen. Maybe your dog's waking you up early, but like, that's where you should constantly be evaluating like what is beneficial in this routine, what isn't, and continue just to adapt and make it better.
I love that. And it really got me thinking. So the other day, a client asked me, he said, hey, I didn't have much time to get my warm up in, but I always spend a lot of time doing it. I'm like, that's totally okay. Like, you've spent so much time doing it that, like, on this day where you don't have as much time, that's okay. Like, do, instead of a minute, do, 5 to 15 seconds, like, scale it back, but still do a little bit. And it got me thinking about the morning routine and how there's so many variables, as you all probably know, with having more kids, and then you have dogs in the picture, and then your house is getting renovated, and then your work. Like, there's a lot of different things coming up. So what's very important for those days where, like, things are getting away from you, such as, once again, kids asking for something, maybe, your dog swallowed something and then you just got to deal with that. Or, even recently I had renovations going on, so the guys were coming earlier, so it kind of cut things a little bit shorter because I had to let them in and answer some questions and have meetings. So the best part about this is when you take what you usually do, and even if it's not to a full degree. So I love meditating for 11 minutes. There's a YouTube video, Wim Hof, that I love doing the full thing. Sometimes I would scale that back a little bit, knowing that I'm going to be on more of a time crunch. That walk, usually I do a bit of a longer loop. Sometimes I would have to cut it back a little bit. So my biggest thing for setting you up for success for this morning routine is knowing that there can be variables, and the more that you have, the harder it will be, but still potentially doing it to a lesser degree on those days, instead of saying, you know what, I woke up a little bit late today and things are popping up and I can't deal with it, and then just being like, oh, well, whatever, I'm just gonna just say I don't care about anything, and then just jump into checking your emails and going on Instagram and skipping out on everything. It's so important to still maintain a certain level of that routine, even if it's not perfect. And this is similar to people's fitness journey. I know so many people struggle with the all or nothing mindset, and it's like when they can't be absolutely perfect with their workouts or their macros or, their calories and whatnot, and even their morning routine, they just say, well, what's the point anyways? Like, I can't do all the stuff that I'm usually doing. And so I just wanted to share that because I know a lot of people struggle with that. And it's something that was very important to me because I can relate to it. Like, there have been times where I'm just like, oh man, like I'm running around a bit more, and it's just, it gets challenging, but at the same time, I'll still feel great even if I meditate for slightly less time, or I'm not doing my full entire journal, but I spend time, I jump right into my gratitude and then move on. It still feels incredible versus just saying, oh, well, I'm not going to do anything. So that's my one random thought here as well.
Yeah, the morning routine will shift, and people like to dunk on morning routines because they'll be like, it's hilarious that you're doing these 80 things in the morning. Must be awesome to have a perfectly productive life and 6 hours to go through these things. But the goal is just to aim to set yourself up for the day in a really beneficial way. And obviously there's a lot of things we aim to do, but not every day will be perfect. Kyle's point. Some days I'll do my little 4-minute meditation. Some days I'll do 15 to 20 minutes of meditation. It really just depends on the structure of that day, how much time I need to dedicate towards that frog. Perhaps when you wake up, like if I'm up like 4:30, I have a lot of time to do a lot in the morning, and other times you won't. So there's a lot of consideration here. And as long as you're aiming to make your routine a little bit better and to grow and get better with each passing day, then you're moving in the right direction. But that is our first primary question for the day, and that was an excellent one. So I hope that was really helpful. We're going to jump into our quotes, and I'm going to go ahead and start with mine. So mine is from Arnold H. Glasso, and it is: a good leader takes a little bit more than his share of the blame, a little less than his share of the credit. And I just thought this was a really great quote to take into consideration, a really good way to live, because it's so easy to operate as me, and instead it's like, how can I really learn to just like take more responsibility and not always be needing to be praised and whatnot. And I thought of this in a million different outlooks and points, but even a good example too is like with kids, it's such a good example. Like if my son runs and sticks something in like an electric socket, that's horrible and terrifying, and that's on me. It's not his fault. Like, he's being a kid, he's doing it. So like, even for me as a leader in that sense, I need to learn to take the blame in these situations, and I need to be proactive and productive to actually make sure that doesn't happen. And that's why even actually for the video people, I see one right here, we have these stoppers. Like, that's how you can get in front of things. And I think a similar example too, just that the component of how can you take more responsibility within your life? Because when you do that, you go from that position of victimhood to actually being like, I can actually take control. And maybe it does suck because you have a crazy busy schedule that no one else understands. Like no one else will, but you need to really operate from that position of ownership and say, how can I deal with it? Kyle even talked about someone who was coping with one of their things being stolen. Instead of dwelling on it and letting it ruin all of their life, like moving on and pushing forward. And I know I'm getting a little bit away from the quote, but this is where my mind went. And I just really like that concept of just taking a little bit more share of the blame and not needing a ton of the credit, and saying, how can I be selfless? How can I build other people up? How can I consider their situation? And I just thought it was a good quote and a little bit different than the ones I've been sharing the last few weeks.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, something I've been trying to live by, and I have to catch myself too, right? Where you kind of want to not exactly take credit. Like we're all human, and it happens to the best of us. But the second you spend some time reflecting, realizing, you know what, I could have done this a little bit better. And I feel like that's how you learn. Like there's so many times I've said, you know what, like they may have been wrong for this way it was kind of just brought up, but like I could have done this better. Like the amount of times I've said that in my life, like, you know what, I kind of messed up with the way that I said this, or the way that I approached this, or, you know, here's something I learned from it. And it's great because you learn a lot versus like, I think a lot of people don't have those words in their vocabulary. It's usually just like, oh, you know, they treated me poorly and that's it, but they never spend that time reflecting. And it's hard. It's not easy to take that blame, that credit for doing something wrong or right or whatever it is. So great quote there. I have one here that I came across from Sir Isaac Newton, and basically it says, a body at motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest. So this kind of, to me, just screams the quote that we always say, I know Josh loves saying it, is motion is lotion. So I love it because it's just, to me, the more you move, the more that your body craves it, the more that your body's used to it, and you just get situated. And similar, if you're used to just being a couch potato, getting a couple thousand steps, or you know, you just don't really move as much and you're always at rest, like that's what it's going to get used to. And like, it's just amazing. Like I've been blown away over and over again at what your body is able to accomplish. Also your mind, of course, as well. But, you know, just simply being that person who would take like my rest days and just do absolutely nothing, to then starting to do like 10,000 steps every single day, is just, it's been cool. Cause like, it's something like that where I'm just like, oh, well, you know, I never realized that you could actually go do that, even though it's nothing crazy. It's like, the more that you get used to it, the more that your body's just like, all right, cool. Like we're moving, you know, let's keep going. So yeah, just a random thought there. You know, I love that quote. A body at motion stays in motion. A body at rest stays at rest.
That's awesome. Motion is lotion is such a great piece of advice. Anytime you're feeling sore and beat up, and there's just times I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm broken. I've been training so hard, playing all these sports, doing all these things. I'll go for a walk and I'll be like, wow, weirdly, I feel better. And sometimes doing that hard thing actually feels a lot better than not doing that easy thing and just sitting around. And that's a great transition to my thoughts. So even while we're on the topic of journaling, I just think a great exercise is to really reflect on a whole week. Usually I'll journal in day increments, but this is something I want to go ahead and exercise. And I got this thought cue, and that's like, are you living how you want to be living? Are you spending the time on the things you're passionate about that fulfill you? What are you really looking for? And when you analyze these things, I think you'll be able to say, okay, this week I probably shouldn't have done this, or this wasn't productive, or I don't want to spend as much time worrying about this thing when I could be taking charge and taking control somewhere else. And I think when you really look at what you're looking for in the week, like you're probably looking for great experiences with friends and family, you're looking to challenge yourself and grow and work on great projects, to really exercise your health and fitness and happiness, and to grow. And oftentimes what you're not looking for is comfort. In those moments we think, oh, I just want to do all these things that comfort me in the here and now. I don't care if they hurt me later. So instead, really just looking and saying, what is maybe that harder thing, that net I should be doing, that's going to actually push me to where I want to be, and changing your mindset towards that is just so powerful. And I actually shared a broadcast message today on Instagram. So if you're not following us on Instagram, you're missing out on this. We just share as much value as we can. Today, actually, we filmed our top 3 leg exercises that me and Kyle stand by. If you're in a pinch, these 3 alone will just kill you in a workout, and they really target the legs fully, which is fantastic. And we like to share all these different tips and hacks and tricks and all these different things. So you can follow us at @ColossusFit on Instagram. But the broadcast message I shared was, it will hurt, it will take time, it will take sacrifice, it will take dedication, but it will be worth it. And I just love that, because nothing good comes easy. Anything that comes easy often isn't good. And at the other side of some struggle, some challenges, where we do feel fulfillment. So I think this was just a really great reflection for me. I'm going to do this journal exercise, and I challenge you to do the same.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And I'm going to jump into one thing I got thinking about at the end of Josh's talk about the morning routine. So I was just thinking there are going to be some things that may not stick with you. Like we might suggest it, Josh might do it, I might try it out and be like, you know what, like I'd rather this later on, or, you know, it's just not going to be the thing for me right now. And that's totally cool. Like you really have to spend time, like when you do these things, like pay attention to how you feel, right? Pay attention to what makes the most sense, what your time frame's like, and just instead of like looking at what, you know, just what was it? Mark Wahlberg's 2:55 a.m. He wakes up at that time. He gets up. He does all these things. Like you might see that and be like, I need to be like him. Like look how successful he is. Like that's what I'm gonna do. But you just go through the motions and do all these things where it's like you don't pay attention to what's actually making a difference for you. Like I obviously talk about meditation. I think it's awesome. But for you, maybe you have a quiet sauna. You go to the gym right after. That's your spot. That's where you're at. You're able to spend time thinking and meditating there without your phone. Like that might be for you instead of sitting in your chair at home and kind of doing something like that. Like really pay attention to what makes a difference for you. And even another random thought I had yesterday is just like paying attention to your strengths and weaknesses. And this kind of came from like a weird thought. So I was just driving and there was two instances where I was just chilling and there were like vehicles very close to hitting me. Like this one lady veered off into the lane that I knew she was going to veer off into. And then I was at the gas station and a guy just started reversing and I was trying to leave and I knew he was doing that, like, cause I could tell he was distracted. So me just naturally like kind of knowing what people do on the road, I exactly knew how to react, you know, start honking my horn, kind of just get over when I needed to, just to keep myself from not getting hit. So I was like, just randomly thinking, I'm like, man, I've got a pretty great strength for this. I know Josh is very similar because we had motorcycles for many years. And so naturally when I'm on the road, I feel so like my ability to just navigate and know what people are doing is like a huge strength. Now, this isn't going to really translate over into anything aside from, I guess, just like real life stuff, but like fitness wise, it's not going to, you know, translate over a whole lot, right? But it got me thinking about strengths and weaknesses and where I could improve and what I should lean into. And, you know, just the concept of like having things that you're really good at and you're naturally really good at and spending more time with that. I know it's a weird analogy to kind of bring over into fitness, but I think a lot of you can spend more time knowing what you're good at, what you could like incorporate more of. And the truth is I love fixing weaknesses, but like just lean into more of your strengths, like lean into more of the things that you like, that you enjoy, that you know that you're able to be consistent with, and just keep getting better in that instead of just always looking at your weaknesses like, oh, I suck at this, I could do better at this. Like we all have those things we're not great at. And instead of just trying to fix these things, like of course it is okay to spend time with that. And I do try to fix those weaknesses and it is great. But if you lean more into your strengths and things that you're great at, and also you're able to understand, like I think a lot of people just live their life and like not realizing like they're good at things and like they actually have natural talent for some things and they're kind of just like, all right, well, here's the book I need to live by, here's the script, here's what people say I should do, I'm just going to do it. So pay attention to it, spend time reflecting, and I'm sure you'll have some pretty cool realizations.
So a key you can get from a lot of what we just said is spend some time reflecting. It's so easy just to focus on dreaming and just forward. But it's hard to really know what your next step is going to be if you don't look back at your patterns and you see your strengths, your shortcomings. And I find reflection is something that is very, very underrated because it is so much easier just to put your head in the clouds, which also is powerful. Big Think is incredibly, incredibly powerful. But even in fitness, like reflect on where you're going well, where you're really falling off, what's holding you back. And maybe you keep saying you want to get in shape, you keep trying things, you cut out all your carbs. We used that example recently, and you feel like a failure, and then you go through this vicious cycle. And that's where we'd love to challenge that for you. And working one-on-one with us, having a coach on your side. So this isn't just some challenge where you just sign up and you don't even think about it, you don't do it, you don't care. You're going to have a coach, a one-on-one coach there to your nutrition, to make you a custom training regimen, as well as to give you goal setting and planning throughout this challenge and after it. So you can stay true to yourself. And instead of just half going into something and failing, that you can go in and see long-term success. So if you want to take advantage of this, first link is going to let you know more about the challenge. It's going to walk you through everything there, or DM us on Instagram, the keyword challenge at ColossusFit, ColossusFit to learn more. But now we're actually going to go into someone who was struggling, who's crushing it, who's our client shout out of this week.
So this week we actually have Susie. She is 25 pounds down. She was referred by her brother, who is a fan of the podcast. So shout out to her brother for referring her. Honestly, love it. She had goals to lose weight, obviously just tighten and tone up her midsection. She even said, she's a professional dancer and dance teacher. She's been super active and she just wanted to become better, like go from good to great and just get to that next level. And obviously you can see on the screen, she has just done some incredible things, working, just one-on-one with us in her journey. And what really stood out to me about what she had said was, sometimes I feel like I'm putting in tons of hard work, but not getting the results I want. I feel like I get lost trying to do it myself and want to make a big change. And I know so many people feel this way, kind of just, you're like a lost puppy. Like you don't really know where to go, what to do, what the next steps are. Like you have some sort of idea because you've seen some posts, you've kind of watched some videos on YouTube and you hear some of your friends talking, but really that next step is just so confusing. And even if you're like, you have 150 pounds to lose or you have 15 pounds or to lose, like whatever the case is, like it's confusing. There's so much misinformation out there. And that's why I'm super happy with this transformation. Obviously, I'm happy with every single one of them, but just for someone who doesn't really know what those next steps are, to have that clear direction, to not be a lost puppy in the gym, kind of looking like, oh, what should I do next? And like, how should I structure my leg days and like how much volume? And then obviously that's only the workout side of things, but even nutrition, it's like, how many carbs should I have? Like what's good? What's a bad carb? Like there's just how much protein, how many calories, like there's a lot out there. And there's a reason why so many people struggle is because they just don't know what next steps are, because it has to be personalized to you. So amazing job, Susie. Like Josh has been mentioning, this challenge is going to be a great place to start. I know a lot of people are looking to build momentum and they're also just in a bit of a tough spot after summer. There's been boat trips, there's been cottages, there's been a lot of great times, but the workout side of things, the nutrition side of things have been neglected for a lot of people. So this is the perfect place to start. $1,000 worth of prizes plus, and I promise you, you will not regret it and we will change your life.
Now we're going to get into our second question of the day, and this is a fun one. Are cold plunges / cold showers worth it? What are your thoughts? So there's a ton of buzz about cold plunges, especially. I know you can buy some pretty fancy ones right now, as well as cold showers, which are obviously very accessible and very simple to do. If you've been around this podcast a while, you'll know I did the 30-day cold shower challenge, which was a lot of fun because they're not something I did consistently. So to do it every single day was a great opportunity. And I'll definitely say I really, really did enjoy it. Like to me, it really felt great to get in there. Something I pretty much never wanted to do every single day. It was uncomfortable. I'd push through it. I'd get over it. And you'd feel very clear after. You'd feel very like euphoric because you got on the other side of that struggle, to what I was saying before. So to that sense, I think doing anything hard that's challenging, that you can just fight and just get through and remove that flinch, when you have to do something later and you're sitting down watching your favorite show and you're like, I don't want to go to the gym, but I do need to go now, it's easier to say, okay, I'm going. Or when you want to get up in the morning and you don't want to hit snooze, you say, I'm going to get up in the morning. So I think it's really great for challenging and working that flinch. And I do definitely think they're fantastic. I think where it gets tough is I know some people really like their showers are time to think. They'll have really long hot showers and they'll prefer that, or cold bath is very expensive. They're hard to set up. And we did like the ice baths, but it's pretty crazy the price of ice nowadays. Like we were having like $40 cold tubs basically, which is pretty nuts. And we just get all this ice and it was a whole ordeal. And I think obviously there's more efficient ways, like you jump in a lake in season, and they're not something I do consistently. And the negative, a lot of people will say, is they're actually almost too good for recovery, to where it can limit some of your ability to actually gain muscle. If you're getting right into cold stimulation after training, it may not perhaps be the best. Now, I find a lot of these things, you're really getting into the weeds. There's a lot of semantics. For most people, like these tiny increments of muscular development aren't really going to be noticeable, especially if you don't have everything on lock. So I find so many people will be so hyper-focused on living the most optimal life that they'll negate the basics and the core of what will actually create progression in their world. And I find when you get too in the mud with these things, because me and Kyle have been there, science is fantastic, but science is always changing, it's evolving, and it's really easy to get stuck in a certain way or be too scared to do something because science will say it's not the most optimal, and then things will pivot. And like even for me, like volume, for a while everyone was really big into minimal effective dose, and people are really big into it, where MRV was the big one before. So maximum recovery recoverable volume. And that was a big one. And then everyone went towards that. And I'm like, well, I like volume. I see the most results when I challenge volume. I stuck with that. And now it's come out that, of course, more volume's better. So that's where you want to look at all these different things. And I think you should definitely try a cold shower, cold plunge, see if you like it, see if it gives you a great effect, see if it's something that's consistently can be implemented in your routine. And if so, give it a whack.
I hate to say it, and I don't want to be that person, but like I honestly feel like they're almost overrated at this point. And when I say overrated, it just means that everybody's talking about it. Like when I go on Instagram or when I go see like everyone's posting their cold plunges, like it's cool, right? Like it also depends on what you're looking for. I think the biggest thing for me is just like Josh was saying, like that flinch effect, like being able to do something at least once a day that you think is just really hard, that you don't want to do, forcing yourself to do it, building that discipline. And just like, I've never done a cold shower and not felt better after, or sorry, at least especially a cold plunge. Like those are just absolutely freezing. And to me, it's more so the mental benefits, right? You know, similar to being in a sauna where you're sweating it out a ton and you don't want to, you're pushing hard and like it feels really intense, and you're like, you go through those extra few minutes, like it feels really good after. And I do think that more of it is a mental side of things, and I think that's absolutely awesome. I see so many claims, and I hear people even talking to me, like someone said, you think I should take cold or hot showers? Like I'm looking to get the best results possible. I'm like, that has nothing to do with it. Like it's just not a thing. And even like places like cryotherapy say you can burn so much extra fat and you burn 500 calories every few minutes or whatever it is, like from that stuff. So you have to be careful with those types of like fitness related claims. But I do think that once again, the biggest amazing benefit is just like it just feels incredible after. And like if you were to even start your day with something like that, like things feel pretty good after. You're like, I've just conquered one of the hardest things here. And I do think also like past that, you can incorporate a lot of other hard things, whether like a really intense cardio session you're not looking forward to, and you know, even strength training, right? Like having to go in today and do, you know, some squats, and I was doing some higher volume. I'm still working through some things, but I was like, man, I'm not looking forward to this. So there's a lot of those things that can kind of give you that similar effect of doing something hard that you don't really want to do. It doesn't just have to be cold showers, and some of these things are actually going to be more beneficial to your overall results, such as that cardio protocol, such as the strength training. And just doing hard things. You can find a lot of things. Doesn't just have to be cold showers and cold plunges, but you know, yeah, I think they have its purpose, but I just think they are a little overhyped right now because people are spending $7,000 for them for their one plunge tub. And I think it's cool and all, but to me, I don't think it's worth it. Maybe one day, but who knows?
And now into our final question. What are your tips to be a fit parent? So I made a YouTube video on being a fit dad recently, but I think being a fit parent in general, I think a lot of it, similar to what we were saying previous, that's why I wanted this question to be last, is getting over that flinch. There's a lot of self-sacrifice. There's a lot of doing what you don't necessarily want to do. When I wake up in the morning, I want to get ready for my day. I don't want to be making breakfast and picking someone up and getting them ready. But like that is a sacrifice you give as a parent. And of course you do it because you love your kids, and that's easy to do. And my biggest tip, if I had to really break it down to something simple, is to love yourself as much as you love your children. It's very easy to do everything for them and put yourself just like fully just put everything out there towards your kids. And then when it comes to you eating a good meal, going on a walk, making time for the gym, like that is just so quick to be axed out, and it comes at the quality of your life and your happiness. And I really love the analogy of if you're going down an airplane, you have to put your own mask on before you go and help someone else, because you're going to pass out trying to help someone else. And I find it's a very similar situation. If you're in your best place mentally and physically, you're going to be in your best place mentally and physically as a parent. And this is something I've really challenged myself with, and I've really challenged myself to do these hard things that I don't want to do, like for myself, just like I would for the things I do for him. And I find this mindset has been incredibly helpful. And even for my wife through her second pregnancy, we've learned even from the first towards the second, we knew how beneficial going to the gym was for her, lifting, working on composition. And with her work structure at the time, she had to get up very early at 4:30. And that might sound ridiculous, but that would come at the expense of getting to bed very early. And we'd have to really focus on that. But it was one of those things where she never wanted to do it, but she'd get out there, she did it. And then by the end of pregnancy, like a few weeks after giving birth, she was only about 10 pounds up from her pre-pregnancy weight, which was phenomenal. And that's because of that work that was put in all throughout that. And now it's transitioning back into the gym, lifting heavier, working on composition. Obviously for me, I'm not getting pregnant, but being a leader and eating healthy things, sticking to regimens, supporting that process, I think is so important. So really supporting each other within that, and even just knowing how great you feel from it. Like for me, even just being able to get to the gym for like an hour each day, I know it's a big ask for a lot of people, but between naps, between schedules, daycares, whatever your structure is, family, I do believe there should absolutely be an opportunity for an hour. And you got to work with the cards you got. If you can't leave your child for whichever reason and you have to do push-ups beside them while they're doing tummy time or playing with toys, like you got to find a way to get it done. And it's really easy to say, well, your situation's easier than mine because you only have 2 kids. I have 18. And then someone else goes, well, I have 22. What's your, and it's just a zero sum complaining about it, your situation. Everyone has different barriers. No one will understand it, but it's up to you to really prioritize your happiness and actually get done what you need to get done. And I know this is more abstract than a physical marker of what you need to do, but all you need to do is the things you know you need to do. And I find even if you had 0 time to go to the gym, where you had a child who actively required to be with them every second of the day, I don't know if that's even physically possible, but you could actively control what you eat. No one's forcing you to eat garbage. You could eat better food, and you can try and create different situations to make that happen. Maybe get meal prep. And if you can't afford meal prep, maybe you have to prep food earlier in the week. Maybe you need to call your parents to come while you prep food. But the case is there's always a solution, and some are harder and harder to achieve. Like when my wife worked out at home, we have a home gym. We're obviously fortunate, and everyone's privilege will be entirely different. But I even said, and similar to what Kyle said earlier about the morning routine, a lot of workouts were heavily interrupted. Like the baby needed to be fed like 2 to 3 different times. You need to be rocked. And like this workout would take 90 minutes to do maybe 40 minutes of a good quality workout. But for that time, it was that or nothing. And you got to work within these parameters that are available to you. And there's nights you have less sleep. Maybe you get some help from caffeine. There'll be nights where you do miss or days you do miss a workout. But it's just that conception of I'm going to do my best. I'm not going to entertain excuses. And I'm always going to be looking for results. But I find this mindset and really gluing to it has helped me so much throughout it. Obviously, I'm still very new to this process, and I'll continue to work, but I do believe applying this continually through different structures and challenges has been really beneficial for me. And obviously, as Kyle will soon come to find, but that's my answer there.
Yeah, I guess I haven't announced it on the podcast, but the other day did Reels and posted.
Once again, why you should be following us on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's great. We posted a gender reveal, got a baby girl coming in November. So I'm starting to take notes, and I just started listening to what Josh was saying there, and I'm going to obviously ask him a lot of questions, which is going to be great and helpful. But yeah, super grateful for that, and I'm excited. We got a couple months there, so I'm getting buckled in, and exciting stuff there. But obviously, even myself, like not having the experience personally, but working with tons of amazing mothers, fathers, and all that stuff, like it's been so incredible to see. Like we love working with different people who have busy schedules, who have, you know, a couple kids, and like one of my favorite messages is when someone says that they have more energy. Even Chris, we recently shouted him out the previous week, and he said he has twin girls, and you know, even his daughter commented saying, "I'm so proud of you, Dad," like on the transformation. I just thought that was so cool, because like one of his goals was to be able to keep up with his twin daughters, who are just like, you know, gonna be crushing it, like they're on the go. And like I love the messages from parents who say my energy's better, my sleep is better. I mean, not always sleep. Sometimes that's one thing that won't exactly be better early on. But the clarity, the ability to be able to just think clearly and take care of their family and just have more energy and just be stronger. Like the benefits are endless. And this really applies to like what I was talking about before, the all or nothing mindset. I think as a parent, like if you give into that, it's going to be easy to just always be like, oh, well, I can't get in my full workout today, this hour-long strength training program, like I may as well do nothing. And once again, I know it's easier said than done, but if you are looking for those solutions, and like it's going to be possible, like you can do it. And even if it's to a lesser degree, even if it's that day where you have nothing in the fridge and you're like, I cannot get to the store or whatever, it's like, what can we do in this situation that can still keep me to a certain level of on track? It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a perfect day where I've hit my macros 100% and I've got the best workout ever, but it's like, what can I do where it's like not 100%, but it's still something, and I still feel productive and I still feel great and I'm still moving in the right direction, but not backwards. So just something to think about. This can apply to anyone, I think, who has a busy life, who has a lot on the go. And yeah, that was great tips from Coach Josh, and I hope it helps you.
Yeah, and regardless of whether you have children, no children, or you're like, why did I listen to that? I don't have kids. I think this attitude towards anything in life, busy school schedule, busy work schedule, changes in your personal situation, your emotional situation, getting a dog, whatever it is, this attitude really applies quite fully. And obviously, having children is a whole different beast because it's a lot of time, emotional energy, and thought and financial involvement as well. And I think finding support throughout that is so important. And having a coach is one of the best things you can do. Well, the best thing you can do because it's someone on your side to hold you accountable, to push you to that higher standard, to help you realize you can operate at that higher standard. And this challenge is a perfect time to get started. $1,000 in prizes, your opportunity to really get in there with support throughout this challenge and after. So click that link to learn more. We'd love to have you take part, to work with you one-on-one, and to get you your guaranteed results. So what are you waiting for? Check that out. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Peace out.